Hey, what's going on, guys? Went to the doctor's yesterday after being in the hospital just last week. Um, I w- yes, I went to the hospital yesterday and found out what was going on with my problems not breathing properly, why I was getting chest pains, and I am feeling a lot better, but my voice is a little hoarse at the moment. Um, so what happened was when I went there, they said that Um, I was having problems breathing. I was also having a lot of pain in my chest, too much fluid around the heart that made my heart beat really fast. It felt like it was ready to pop out of my chest. Um, and other things that was going on. And they also said that COPD is in my family. Great. Um, that I also have sleep apnea where I stop breathing at night and don't wake up until at a certain time. Um, and I have to go see a heart specialist. I have to go do a, a uh, neurologist. I have to go see uh, another doctor where I can get things uh, for a CPAP machine, uh, which is not good. Uh, but that's what's going on with the health, and it kind of sucks that I have to deal with this, um, with everything that's going on with my health. Uh, October 3rd was my dad's anniversary of his death. I was dragging my ass. I went to my old neighborhood, and I couldn't do it to be around in the area that I used to live in as a youngster, and it was very tough to do. So what I did was I decided to go to a couple of restaurants and had tacos and burritos. And if you want to see those, you can see those on Payline Slots Discord page. Um, and it's under the food listing of his Discord. Um, let's see. I got my flu shot. Uh, it made me a little bit out of it yesterday, and like I said, I couldn't go around my old neighborhood and you know look inside the home that I grew up in, and it was hard to do. So, like I said, I stayed around in the neighborhood uh, where I grew up at. Everything has changed, um, which is on the west side of town of Wichita, Kansas, and it was very very tough. That I only stayed there for like 45 minutes to an hour, and said, okay, that's it. I can't handle no more. I could see my dad and my stepmom and my sister drive down the street, and you know, having like a little um, memory flash, memory flashback, and it was just, it was just painful. Today I was walking home from a friend's house, uh, and I blacked out walking across the street, and I didn't know what happened, and I wasn't paying attention. A bicyclist went right behind me, and I was like going, wait a minute, what the hell's going on? And I'm going like, oh my God, what is going on here? And I just want to say congratulations to a friend of mine. Him and his wife had a baby boy, uh, Ryan Charles, 8 pounds, 21 ounces. So congratulations to Jennifer and Brian, and been hanging out with them. So they're going to be busy with their child till he gets a little bit older. Um, but everything else is going good, uh, except for the health, issues and everything else, and it's hard, and getting caught up with everything else and different things. And don't forget to check out my Facebook. I have two things that I posted on some looking for donations of wounded warrior project. So donate to that, and also the Epilepsy Foundation, which I have. You know, we're doing that because it helps a lot for especially little kids and all the way up to adults to try to find stuff for research, um, to get medications, to get everything else, um, to uh, to help after a person passes away with seizures and everything else. It does. Um, they can take samples of the brain and find out everything else that's wrong with most of us with epilepsy, um, and I'm glad I'm doing this because that it helps for the research of Epilepsy Foundation, and different things that I grew up with, having seizures at a young age and having to deal with it up to now, especially with medications that cost me out of the ass, you know, and it's, I just want to say, thanks to my family that's helped me through my seizures, and, my roommate and everything else that he's dealt with. Um, One morning he saw me, shaking and everything, me banging off the walls during a seizure. He called 911, and they got me to the hospital, and um, they said if I was okay, but my blood pressure was going skyrocket because of the seizure. Um, and these seizures don't feel too good. And, biting of the tongue, and it felt like, I can barely talk, losing uh, um, my bowels when I have a seizure, whatever's in my stomach, food content wise, uh, blood coming out of wherever, my mouth. I've had, when I go into a seizure, I've had my shoulders pop out of place. I've had uh, scratches on my arms due to seizures, where I scratch it, and I didn't, wake, come out of it, and I'm like, man, why is my arms hurting? And they said it's rare that I have to deal with this, especially with seizures, and it doesn't matter if I take my medications or not. It's uh, it's uh, it's a matter of life that it does that just to work itself out, and but that's what happened. That's why I'm trying to raise money for the Epilepsy Foundation and everything else, and the Wounded Warriors Project. Um, because every time I turn around with the Wounded Warriors Project, people that are in the armed forces that are dealing with a lot of problems that they can't live anymore, um, that they're, you know, committing suicide, that they're blaming, their families, but they're mostly dealing with. Uh, I'm staying strong, very strong, and it's just dealing with a lot of problems with the health and everything else, and I went out today, met my neighbor for the very first time. She's a very nice person. She also has to deal with seizures and being epileptic and everything else. I brought her dinner from a friend's house, and and because she wanted my roommate to bring her back some Mexican food, but some companies don't allow that because of all the things that's been going on at his job and everything else. And I'd try to do the same thing. They said that he can't do it, but everything else going good. Like I said, October 3rd was Dragon Ass, and it was very tough for me to do. And it's just, uh, especially losing, family members from a year and a half apart, or uh, 11 months apart, and everything else, and dealing with everything else that everybody got to grow up in the house and everything. I just didn't have. Uh, I was mostly too scared to go over there, but I try to stay away from there. Um, but it was kind of strange that me going back into the neighborhood a couple of days ago, it felt like everything was changing. And after I got done with my dinner, I got back on the bus and decided I'm going to come home, and just do everything else. I got to stay strong. If my dad was here, he'd probably say, keep your head high, feet on the ground, and don't let the pressure get to you. Don't let stress get to you, because you know what, that's going to happen. And we just don't want you to do everything else. There's been a couple of times where I said, hey, I give up. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to go out, do something stupid to myself and say, hey, my life is ending. No, I'm not that kind of person that wants to go out, shoot their head or brain out, whatever, um, because I don't want my family to suffer because I'm gone. No, I'm here to stay strong and show my respect to my family, that I don't have to do everything, that if I need to talk to them, I can call them and say, hey, I just want to call up and say, hey, what's going on? I'm doing good. What have I been doing today? How am I feeling? And everything else. Um, that's what was going on, when I had, everything else. My mom kept calling me while I was in the hospital, saying, hey, how are you feeling? I've talked to the nurses. They're going to let you go home after you get done eating. and it was just like, ah. Um, the second time I went there to the hospital, um, they kept me awake. When I arrived at the hospital and got up to the room, and it was like, "Can I go to bed now? I'm so tired." They said, "No, we want you to keep awake so we can do the testing and all that." And I was like, "Come on." And um, 2 o'clock in the morning, they said, "Hey, we got to take your blood pressure. We want you to sign for this. We want you to do, we got to take blood from you. We got to, you know, check your heart and everything else." And hours later, they had me lay on this uncomfortable table, and when they covered me up, I was out. I I was so tired and everything else, and they did a test and everything, and they think that they saw something, and that all the fluid that was built around my heart, they said was because of COPD. I've been getting a lot of questions on COPD. It's constructive pulmonary disease, um, which builds the fluids around the heart, um, where they're trying to say that you get so much fluid on the heart that it's hard for the heart to pump very well. Um, they tried to put me on oxygen, and when they tried to do that, they looked at the oxygen level that I had. They said that it dropped down, and they put me on oxygen probably for overnight, and that's mostly what they want me to do is be on a CPAP machine, and I don't like those damn things. And I notice a lot of people use them, and they don't like it either. And I've been on it before, and it's like I'm going like, why do I have to wear this damn thing? Why I have to take it off, turn off the machine. Every time I have to take a nap, it's like turn back on the machine, put it on, and it feels like I'm Darth Vader, where going, it's horrible. And I'm trying to talk to them. They're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, and they said, "Would you take that damn thing off?" I'm like, "Okay." They said, "Now say it again." I said, "I have to leave it on because I'm so tired." And they said, "Well, go to sleep, leave it on," and I'm like, "Okay, see you in about a couple hours," and blah blah blah, and but that's what's been going on for the last couple of days. Um, Last night I was out mm, helping the homeless. I got to do a lot of things. Uh, Listening to music, watching football, passing out bananas and water, and then last night, uh, a friend of mine asked me, "Are you so and so?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "You don't recognize me?" And I'm like, "No." I said, "Did you used to be on the junior high track team?" He goes, "No, I did a lot more stuff uh, with you in junior high school." And I'm like going, and when he told me his name, I was like, "Oh my God." And it just floored me. And, when he called on his phone, everybody started coming out, saying, "You're doing a good job." And, it's like the whole uh, best friends that I went to high school with in junior high school, they were coming out just to help out and made sure that everybody was okay. and it was just, seeing familiar faces, and they got kids, and their kids got kids, and it's like, memories, flashbacks, and it's like having a high school reunion, but out in a parking lot with homeless, people, and had a couple of friends of mine that went over there and say, hey, we're here to help you out. And what they did was they passed out clothing. And I'm like, wow. And when they heard about it, it was it was like mind blowing. People went right, straight to the clothing and everything else, and they took whatever they needed, and and it was just mind blowing and everything else. Well, I'm gonna cut this short. I'm gonna say, you guys have a good night. Um, keep the faith, keep the faith, keep the peace, keep your head high, feet on the ground. Love you all. Um, stay close to your family, your friends, and everything else. Peace out. You're welcome, Jerry Real. Have a good night.